Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Cigar Snob, and I am with Artman Forever. This is the ATF radio show on a very somber Saturday afternoon. It is the 20th anniversary of September 11th. Chair 4 Steve is out. He went to duty and got his flu shot and his COVID shot, so he's pretty much down for the weekend, pretty much. So I just told him good luck.
But when he comes back, he should be back like Thanos, collecting Infinity Stones. He's got immunity stones. I like that one.
I mean, who knows? I don't know how those light skinned people react, so.
They should be okay. We need them. We need them anyway.
We do
need
need
somebody to pick on. So
We do. So I'm going to turn it over to you. It's kind of a hard day for me, so
understood.
I'm just going to sip on my yak.
So there'll be
Smoke
a
my
lot
cigars.
of recollections today on September 11th. One of the more fonder ones, in which, well, I won't say fond, but visceral in my memory, was a conversation that I had with my brother earlier today, because he was recounting, where he was, what he was doing 20 years ago today, and he asked me uh, what I remember about that day. And for me, working from home, which is always interesting, because when you work from home, people always assume you got the TV on and so forth and so on. And normally when I work from home, I had music on. And so my phone rang. My mother-in-law at the time called me and said, "Do you know what's going on?" And I said, "No." And I looked out the window because I thought, because she lived basically half a mile from us, I thought there was something going on outside.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, "No." And she goes, "Well, turn on the TV." She goes, "I got to go." She hung up. At the time, she was a principal at a school in Chicago. So, I went and turned on the TV, and that's when I saw the aftermath of the first tower being hit. And so, of course, I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And then I hear reporters talking about, a plane hitting the building and everything else. And so that just completely interrupted my day, because, you're riveted when you get news like that. So I was just watching everything. and then when the second plane hit, then I knew we were in the midst of something. And then there was this flood of reports. There was a report that there was a plane headed to San Diego, and there was a report there was one headed to Chicago, just all these different things. And so I was numb more than anything else, because he was asking me, well, what was your ex's reaction at the time, or what have you? And I'm like, I really don't remember, because it just numbed me out. And then it took me back to August 11th of 2001, because I happened to be in New York City for work.
Oh, wow.
And Caitlin's godfather and I had lunch in World Trade Center Plaza. We're sitting outside and everything else. I'm looking at these big buildings. And
30 days later.
Exactly 30 days later. And so I'm thinking, wait, I was just there. And I remember the enormity and the scale of those buildings. I'm like, what's going on? And so he calls me later that evening, because he was living in New Jersey, so he could see, what was going on. And he said to me, "My brother, they're gone." And I'll just never forget the way he said that. He said, "My brother, they're gone." He goes, "Art, we were just there." He goes, "They're gone. I'm looking at the skyline. All I see is smoke. And what were those buildings
Yep.
are gone." So, but it's interesting in that when there's a catastrophe, whether it's man-made or not, how people in this country, can come together, and they did. And then, and I'll just be honest, it's kind of sad that 20 years later, this country is divided and fractured in so many ways. Whether it's, the laws in Texas, restricting a woman's right to choose, or restricting voting access to certain groups of people, or people getting up in the whole social political thing. And you got literally Americans attacking other Americans. There was a time where I always thought our biggest threats were from abroad. And now our biggest threats are from within. And in some respects, it's almost as if terrorism has had a victory because they didn't beat us from the outside in, but they stirred up something in this country, in that now we're fighting against ourselves, and it's almost like we're doing the work for them. So I'm hoping that at some point we get back to um, a place where we're all together at Americans and where this stuff can end. And oh, TC Broiled is here, so yeah, I'm in the boardroom. So come on in, man, if you want to hang out. So since you're here, but I'm hoping that we get to a point where we can get past the internal hate and so forth. So, and I hope it doesn't take another external event from terrorism, or I hope it doesn't take another hurricane or tornado or fire to force us to come back together.
So, devil's advocate here.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be frank and honest.
Yes.
Shit ain't going to never change. Mm.
And I know you're a realist. So.
And I hate to say that because I have 4 daughters that are going to grow up in this world. But the harsh reality is this country was built on the land of the free and the home of the brave, where the streets are paved with gold. And you can be a nobody in whatever country you come from, even like myself. You can come to this country and make yourself the next Jeff Bezos, or the next Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But the problem is that
I could be the next George Floyd too.
That was where I was going. That's exactly my next statement. But the problem is I am more likely to be the next George Floyd, or the next Philando Castillo, or the next Trayvon Martin. And it floors me how patriotic the country became and loved each other after September 11th. I was in a humanitarian mission convoy on the way to Poland when I was listening to the Air Force Radio Network, or the Armed Forces Network, I'm sorry, AFN,
Yep.
in a Hummer, when they stopped the broadcast to announce that one of the towers had been hit and the Pentagon had been hit. And I just remember picking up my cell phone and trying to call my dad because he worked in downtown D.C. They shut down all the cell phone towers. So the next call I get on my radio is that we need to stop, turn around, and go to the next closest base that there is and await further instructions. So I'm on pins and needles. Here I am, a 21, like freshly 21. Our birthday was 20 days ago.
Yeah.
Freshly 21. I'm an immigrant to this country, but I'm serving this country in a foreign land. And I feel helpless because I'm, however many thousands of miles away from home, and there's nothing I can do. I can't reach out to anybody. I can't do anything. And 2 things. One thing made me really happy, and then the other thing made me really, really that's when I understood it. I saw on all the radio and the news networks and hearing on the radio, everybody was getting together and coming together as Americans and helping each other out.
Yeah.
And consoling each other.
Yeah.
However, if you looked like you were of Arabic descent, or if you looked like you came from the Middle East, or if you talked with an accent, even if it wasn't a Middle Eastern accent. I mean, I had a friend who her dad owned a diner, and they burned his diner down to the ground.
Not knowing anything about this person.
The guy was best friends with everybody, gave free meals out, the whole 9. But that one event automatically changed everybody's perception of him. And you see it over and over. You see it in the Nike commercials with the woman who's a fencer in a hijab. You know, you see all of these images and you think, man, we are really, really, really getting somewhere. And then you wake up from your dream too, and I just call it like it's a living nightmare because I don't know, you know, and people say, oh, you're just being exaggerated, and you know that could never happen to you, and I'm like, that's what everybody says. It could never happen to you,
until it does.
and then I'm on a T-shirt and you're crying. Nah, don't cry. Do not. If that ever happens to me, do not cry. You burn this world down until it makes a difference. I don't have a memorial for me. Don't throw birds in the air. Don't do a GoFundMe for my kids. No, none of that shit. They're taken care of. You fight for me. That's what I want you to do. Because if it was you, that's what I would have done. And it's sad that it's gotten to this point where, and I hear it all the time from, you know, people of other races like, oh, well, why is it black people against everybody? And I'm like, look at the history of the world. Like, look at the history of the world. I was like, we were enslaved. I was like, and then fast forward 200 or 300 years, 400 years, you know where Hitler went before he went, Hitler and Mussolini went before they went back to Germany? They were in Africa. That's where they were.
I didn't know.
Fine tuning mass extermination. So they practiced on us before they went full scale.
I never knew that.
Like there's a lot of history that blacks are a part of, and it's in a negative way, or it's being treated subpar or differently from everybody else. And you know, people say, "Oh, well, in this day and age, it doesn't happen." And you know, that was your grandfather, your great grandfather. And I'm like, personally, I'm not even from here. I'm not. I am very mixed raced. I have pretty much everything in every continent mixed into my family. But I will tell you, and I feel it. I go on job interviews. I talk on the phone. They're like, "Oh man, can't wait to meet you. Excited, you know, get ready." And I get to the meeting, and I sit down for the interview, and I introduce myself, and I shake my hand. They shake my hand. Phone interview's 2 hours long. In-face interview, 5 to 7 minutes, 10 minutes to the
They want it
max.
to be over.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll give you a call. You know, if anything opens up. Like you damn near offered me the job on the phone,
Yeah. So what's the difference?
just on my resume,
Yeah.
just on you calling my references, and then you saw my face, and the face didn't match who you thought it was. So you know, people can say, "Oh, racism's dead," and you're just beating a dead horse, and you're just bringing up old stuff. I live this shit every day. Every day. Art lives this shit every day. Steve lives this shit. And yes, you can say that, oh, everybody's, you know, everybody's hated or people are racist towards everybody. You're right. They are. However, the scale that we are on is nowhere near the scale that anybody else is on. Whether it's a police officer, whether it's literally the lady walking her dog in my neighborhood as I get out of my truck with my scrubs on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and crosses the street. Or people see me driving in a neighborhood and they tell their kids to come inside. You know, just simple shit like that. Like you don't, people, and you know, and I will say this. I don't even think people really recognize the racism that they give out
No.
most times.
No.
So they miss a lot of it.
Step on up. What's up, Edgar?
Oh, what's up, Edgar?
Question.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
What would you like?
you first.
I can.
What would you like to drink?
I don't know. You tell me. You pick, because if James picks, I'm going to be drunk. So
Yeah. What have you been drinking lately?
Lately, I've been drinking the grind rum with Bailey's in it.
Oh, that's right. You have.
It's kind of like a frappuccino.
Is that what he makes?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, no, he makes the
he makes the
espresso
espresso
martini,
martini,
and he
yeah.
actually put coffee in it. But the coffee machine is down, so. But I usually just drink the regular Bailey's with the grind.
I'll do
You
that.
want to try? You want one of those? You want
Yeah.
single or double?
No, I can double it up.
Double.
I'll do the same.
Double.
Wait. Come here for a second, Edgar. Wait. Did you see her eyebrows?
No, what happened?
Her eyebrows are.
Oh, damn.
They're like arched. I was like,
You got a date tonight? What's
right?
going on?
She
I don't know. I might.
Oh, well,
there you go. All right, you can call it
stay tuned to Dating with Edgar because,
for real.
damn,
My eyebrows are ready. So,
as my daughter says, they're on fleek.
so
But yeah, going back, I mean, there are so many microaggressions that people don't even notice that they give out, and I'm very conscious of mine. I will tell you, like, I am an equal opportunity. If you want to call me racist or hater or whatever it is, I'm that. I don't like anybody at all the time. Like, you literally have to grow on me. I am a very people see me and they think that I'm a very talkative and open and friendly person. I am not. I am not. I saw Art probably for 3 months before I spoke to Art at the shop. I was like, look at this motherfucker coming up in here with cheesecake and shit, smiling all the fucking time. I'm like, who the fuck you think he is? And then finally sat down and talked to him, and then we became friends. And anybody who really knows me will tell you, like, yeah, he's an asshole. And it's not because I just wake up every morning and I'm like, yep, time to put it on asshole level number 10 today and just start the day. Like, it's not that.
that's not
It's just that's my personality.
because
And because I'm just don't trust people,
you don't.
you know? And
Organically, you don't. Organically, I try to give people a benefit of the doubt. And despite the interesting circumstances of how our friendship started, to this day, I consider you now one of my best friends.
absolutely.
And I, do anything for you. So, in some family, you don't get to choose, some you do.
Right.
And I consider you that. So,
And I feel the same way. And then, I tell people, like, I understand it. I can understand where it comes from sometimes because it may be something that bothered you 20 years ago that in your subconscious, every time you meet somebody of this gender, of this race, of this sexuality, you choose to just treat them like shit because maybe that person 20 years ago or 30 years ago treated you like that.
correct.
And all you're doing is you're living cyclically because every time you now meet somebody that reminds you of that bad memory, you now give them a new memory of someone who looks like you.
Yeah, it self perpetuates.
And it continues and continues and continues. And I get it. It's hard to change. It's hard to do the kill 'em with kindness shit. Like, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, don't really give a fuck. But I'll say it. I don't. But if you want to get anywhere in life, and this is not just from a financial standpoint or a spiritual standpoint, this is just from like the human being and the human life perspective. Like, you can't do life on your own. And I'm not talking about having a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or none of that shit. Like, you can't
Thank you.
live the human experience by yourself. Edgar's on camera with those. Let me see those eyebrows again.
I'm telling you. Look up.
I like
I mean, they're like, pow. As soon as I walked in, she's talking to me, and I heard what she said, and I was like, look at my eyebrows.
No, I'm gonna tell you what it is. I don't have makeup around my eyes.
No, that's not what
why
it
they're
is.
standing up.
No, that's not what it
Really
is.
have liner and stuff.
There's not a single strand of hair out of place in my eyebrows. That is not what it is.
I thought that shit was tattooed at
You just
first.
need
I
to go
said,
in.
damn.
You need to
Well,
just
thank
go.
you for noticing.
You need to just go on and own it. So
Let me know how you like this race.
we'll do.
Oh, yeah. So,
Cheers.
let's try this out.
Grind, liqueur, and Bailey's.
Oh, shit.
Huh?
This ain't no good. Mm-mm. I need to put that, like, I need to pour that in shot glasses so I can just sip a little bit at a time. That's not good.
So good.
That's going to get me in trouble.
You should eat it.
You should. We are at Executive on the Water
But for those who ain't here, that means it's more for us.
in lovely Sanford. Water's a little choppy today, so I'm not surfing after the broadcast.
Yeah, you are. I see the board on the truck. You ready?
Might go spearfishing. That's a whole nother show.
That is a whole nother show.
Damn, the thing's so chocolatey.
It is.
It's
Oh, did you dip?
no, I never do this, but
Yeah, I know it's a thing.
just because,
I know it's a coffee thing, but
oh, that makes it even better.
well, it does.
Because it's already got that
Coffee.
sweet coffee
Yeah.
tip to it already. I digress. Sorry,
Just the
we're
tip.
just never just a tip.
Just the tip.
Why you always get in trouble?
Just the tip. So, as I walk in, the cigar snob was kind enough to grace me with a La Gloria Cubana Series R. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's one of my favorite cigars from one of my favorite cigar manufacturers. And I love the fact that even though the cigar industry is very male dominated, this is La Gloria Cubana. So I love having that female presence to it. So we need more of that.
Absolutely.
So
Hey,
Aaron
look
Pierce,
who it is.
Aaron Pierce is in the building. You want
This
to
is
say something?
This is
to
the New
people?
Age Sully.
New Age. So, I didn't put an airplane down in water that I know of.
Not yet.
Not well. I mean, it is early.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good, man. Good.
So yeah. So
Something
we were
thank you.
talking.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about 9/11 and all the history,
Yeah.
and I was explaining to Art and everybody else that as an immigrant to this country, like you get this ideal put in your head even before you get here that everything's just the streets are paved with gold, and they give you a house and a car when you get off the boat or you get off the plane, and then when you get here, the reality hits you that it is not that way.
No.
Like, and not just from the socioeconomic standpoint, but we all look at the U.S. and because we look at it through TV and we see it, we look at it and we see a place where everybody likes each other. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, you're a woman, you're gay, you're straight. It doesn't matter. Like everybody gets along. It's like the "We Are the World" bullshit song. Like that's what every other country in the world sees, or they think that it is when they see it, when they hear about, oh yes, I'm going to the States.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling them, I was like, it's hard because, like, even growing up as an immigrant kid, and I got it from all sides because first of all, I don't necessarily look black. I don't have the black features. So even going to elementary school when I moved to Maryland, like I literally sat by myself because I went to a Christian school, uniforms and all,
Same.
and
And you would think the Christian schools would be the most welcoming,
No.
but sometimes they are the least.
and they were the worst. Like
Funny how that works.
I went over to hang out with the black kids, and they're like, "You're not black. Like, look at your nose, look at your hair. You're not black. Get out of here." Went over to hang out with the white kids. You're not one of us either. So literally for the first 4 years that I lived in Maryland, from third grade all the way until seventh grade, that was my life.
That's a long time to feel
And as a child,
unaccepted. Yeah.
yeah, and as a and I now understand why my parents sheltered me so much. Like my first date was prom, my senior prom when I was graduating. high
Really?
school.
Your first
Yeah.
date was prom?
I did not go out to the movies. I didn't go out to parties. The first date I went on was the military ball, and that was my sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
But that was the military ball, so it didn't count. I was in ROTC. But my actual first real date, where I took a girl to dinner, we went to a movie, went to the prom and had fun, and then went back to a hotel party. I was damn near 18 years old, 17 and a half, more than that. I turned 18 in 2 months. So
What a time to be exposed to an orgy.
I didn't.
Oh, the hotel party wasn't an orgy?
Not for me, it wasn't.
You went to the wrong hotel party.
Yeah, you went to the wrong one.
Yeah. But then again, I probably wouldn't have known what to do anyway, so.
There you do.
At least you got to have a senior prom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in Christian school in Asia, they wouldn't let us
Hey, Felicia.
hardcore dance, or we had to have an underground prom that was just us in somebody's house dancing and hanging out.
I mean, I remember the Catholic school dances where, honestly, and people laugh when I say this, but like the staff, because they weren't nuns, but the teachers that were staff would come in and be like, leave room for the Holy Spirit. And they'd put their arms between you, and then they'd open their arms out shoulder width apart, and that's how you had to dance. So I would literally have my hands on the girl's waist here, and she would have her hands on top of my shoulders, and we would dance with the Holy Spirit between us.
Nuns.
They ain't getting none.
None.
Yeah.
But I say that to say it's really, I think people, especially those who are generationally born here, 3 and 4 generations, they have no clue. They're not connected to the
Reality.
things that their forefathers went through. I mean, I look at it, I look at the Italian experience, I look at the Irish experience, I look at the Asian experience. Like, they were all mistreated. Like, to make no doubt about it. That is the whole reason that the mafia started in America, was because they had to protect themselves from the blue bloods, who were the true English, and from the Irish, because the Irish were here before them. So obviously, you have that whole contention and problem. And then they movie Gangs in New York.
Yeah, great example. Once Upon a Time in America.
I mean, you look at some of these movies and you're like, oh, it's just a movie. No, this was
Exactly.
somebody's reality, and this was somebody that like. This isn't. We're not talking 100 years removed. You know, some of these situations. Like, think about it. My daughter's the youngest one's 5. From the age of from her birth till 5 years old, how many racially motivated murders have there been in this country?
Too many.
Whether it's black, whether it's white, whether it's Hispanic,
Well,
like,
unfortunately, they happen every day. They're just not all reported. You
right.
can't report them all.
And that's the thing. Like, and I say racially motivated for a reason, because if you don't like somebody because they did you wrong, that's fine. I'm not saying murder is fine,
No,
unless you're a pedophile. Then
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, or a rapist.
or R. Kelly.
Well,
He's
actually,
both.
Just put them in prison and they'll sort themselves out.
Well, he was in prison and he came out whole. I still can't understand that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, you know, I just don't understand, because this is literally supposed to be the melting pot. And I was telling Art earlier, one of my friends who was, I don't want to miscall the nation, she was either Iranian or Palestinian. Her dad owned a diner.
Yeah, he's on the mic.
And, oh, can't hear me?
She said she couldn't hear you.
Oh, and had been in the community for 20 years. Mom and pop establishment. He knows everybody. People, you don't have money, don't worry about it. Your meal's free today. You know, send your kids by. You know, once we finish breakfast, and you know, it's during the summertime. Anything that we didn't sell, you know, the kids can come in and eat for free. That type of thing. September 11th happened. They burnt this diner down.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was ingrained in the community.
For no reason.
Ingrained.
Yeah. He had nothing to do with it. But that's, unfortunately, that's where ignorance comes into play. There's you know, and I've always said there's 2 things. There's either ignorance, where you don't know any better, and so you act out in a mob type mentality, or there's defiance, where you know better, but you still choose to do the wrong thing anyway. What it gains you?
There's also the impact of trauma too.
Nothing.
Well, and we did go over that, and
Yeah,
I did say that.
talked about the
I did say
impact
that,
of
and I said because it's very cyclical. Because I was telling them, you know, I'm an asshole. You know, I apologize for it in advance, but that's my personality.
You're a self-proclaimed
Yeah,
asshole.
I mean, I don't mean to. You know, I'm not trying to be harsh when I say things to people. That's just my personality.
Correct.
But I've told them. I said, you know, 20 years ago, something may have happened to me, and a person who looks like this a person who looked like you did something to me, and it stuck with me. You've never had a bad experience, right? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you've never had a bad experience with anybody of any color. And then I see you, and I'm like, glasses and red hair. Fuck, that reminds me of that kid that beat me up that one time. And I'm just a complete dick, and I'm threatening you, and now that I'm older and bigger, I can say what I want. So now I give you a bad experience. And so now every time you see somebody that looks like me, you're triggered.
Yeah.
And it just goes on, and it's a perpetual thing. It's like a hamster on a fucking wheel.
Yeah. What I have tried to do in those situations is separate the act from the ethnicity.
Yeah.
I've done my best to
Shit.
do that
I'm pulling the art today. Damn.
because, you know, I've had people do things to me of all ethnicities, but I didn't project that on everybody else that I saw that looked like that person. You know, I tried to prescribe it to that person.
You have to.
Yeah, because I've had people who look exactly like me
Who treated me like shit.
who treated me like shit too.
Yep.
You know, the person who shot me looked like me. So, and so I've had to, you know, let that go. I've had people who did look like me treat me with nothing but extreme love and kindness as well. So, so I try to separate the act from the ethnicity because The reality is that people are good.
They're inherently
Regardless of,
good. They are.
regardless of ethnicity, people are bad regardless of ethnicity. And so I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt initially until I cannot. You either prove yourself good and righteous, you either prove yourself bad
What?
and not worthy of my company and my attention. Now, if you try to hurt me and mine, then my objective is to
And you.
protect at all costs so that they can't hurt me or anybody else again. So, and that's,
And that's why I go back to saying, like, it's the human experience.
it is.
Like, I don't,
It is.
like, at this point in my life, I just turned 41. I've traveled all over the world. I've been, in
Talk to me when you turn 54.
Shit.
I'll be
I've
double
been in-
nickel this year.
Damn.
You double nickel?
I'll be the double nickel this year.
Well, that means 2 5 foot tall. Well, I digress. Um,
Or 3.
damn it.
1 for the frank, 2 for the beans.
Well, but all right.
Tickle my taint, if you know what I mean.
Hey, more butter for the muffins.
All right. I think you said something important though.
I-
Not just about the butter and the muffin.
okay.
You can butter your muffin all you want. But
So, but our experience is also very unique and different in that you mentioned the Irish, you mentioned the Italian, you mentioned a lot of the other ethnic groups that came here. They came here because they wanted to be here, because they saw opportunity. We are the only group of people who were brought here. We were
Well-
forced here. So that's a so the
So, and
that's
there's a thin line between that one and not an Uncle Tom or anything of the sort. But you do have to remember, when you look at the continent of Australia, what are other than indigenous Australians?
you got the Aboriginals.
Who else inhabits that?
The Aboriginals.
No, other than them. The only other people that inhabit that were all of the murderers,
Oh, that's true.
rapists,
Mhm.
and everything of mainly Europe, mainly England. But
Europe, Europe. Yep, that's true.
and I'm not negating the fact, I'm not taking away from the fact of the Middle Passage or anything like that. But there are also people, yes, it was an option, but it wasn't really an option.
Mhm.
yeah.
It was, if you want to live, you come on, and you're an indentured servant. So yes, their treatment on the trip over, and once they got here, was vastly different.
Yes.
But I mean, I do have to give not credit, but I do have to say that there were people of other colors who were brought here in a similar, not the exact same. That's why I said I'm not taking anything away from it.
No.
But there were people who were brought here in a very similar situation. And I didn't realize that until I moved to Europe. And I traveled to Germany, I traveled to Poland, I traveled, all these different places. And I know it's weird, but I love history, but not just war history. I love church history. Like, I
Me
love
too.
to look at the old, huge churches with stained glass windows and gargoyles. Like, that's my thing. Castles and churches are my thing. Like, I love it. Any place I go, I guess.
That's why we still got to get you down to Grand Cathedral.
Yeah,
At least to say you saw it.
that's true.
Just to get the visual on it, because it is a beautiful place. So,
And going into these places, I talk to the tour guides or the priest that's there or the pastor, and they give me history shit. Even in Sofia, Bulgaria,
Oh, there's got to be some good stuff there.
that place, to be honest, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in this
Bulgaria.
world. Sofia, Bulgaria. It is
Okay.
beautiful.
No, I believe it.
Aaron, you been there?
No, I know a little history of the region, and I know that it was, built up really well that way.
Yeah. And then I didn't realize how bad the genocide was there
Oh yeah.
until you look at, trust me, until you look at the women from the age of probably 17, 18, all the way till they're about 35 to 40. They are all drop dead gorgeous,
Yeah.
long, beautiful hair. They're model types,
Yep.
right? That's how they're built. When they hit 45, they literally look like the witch from Hansel and Gretel.
Whoa!
Yeah,
Why do you suppose there's that precipitous drop off?
ethnic cleansing. There's a lot of the same gene pool because you look at these women. I mean, and they can be from different families, but you go there and it's kind of like, it is not. I'm not being racist to say this because I have Chinese heritage as well, but it's kind of like going to China or Japan for that matter, or Korea. Like if you put everybody in the exact same clothes, if you didn't know them personally or didn't get time to study their facial features and their speech, you would not be able to tell who was who. You wouldn't, because the women, I mean, it's almost like a robotic line of women. Like everybody wears the exact same thing. They wear their hair the same way. They put on the same makeup. They speak the same. They look the same. There's little off features. They call them flaws. Those are the things that make, for me as a man, a woman's flaws are what attracts me to her.
Really
Yeah,
interesting.
the things that they find like horrible about themselves, and like if they could change one thing, it would be this, and I'm like, that's the reason you're not like everybody else. I
Yeah.
don't like that,
Makes you you. Makes you
yeah, it makes you unique. Yeah, but there, I'm telling you, you'd be hard pressed. You walk down the street, you think you've seen the same woman 10 times, and you saw 10 different women.
Okay.
But it's like to his point. I just don't. I feel bad when I say this, but I said it earlier. I was like, it's never going to get better. Like,
I hope it is. I have faith in younger generations coming up that some of this will change and improve over time.
I don't, because here's the
it takes
thing.
a long time.
Here's the thing.
It's going to outlive us, but
It-
I think we will get there. It just takes a long
If
time.
that's the case, let's say 100 years after the Civil War was over, and the last Southerner who believed in the Civil War died, we wouldn't have that problem, right?
Well,
But
Mhm.
racism and hate is taught at home,
It is. It is.
and you can't take that out of some people.
No, you cannot.
You can't. I mean, it's ingrained in them. And sometimes they don't even know that they'll tell you, "Oh, that's just the way I was raised," and it's through no fault of their own.
No.
However, once you leave your parents' house, once you leave that state, once you go to another country or you go across to the West Coast or anywhere else, if you still carry those ideals and you still have not been able to
You perfect
mature as a person,
Yep.
then now it's your problem.
Correct. Because at some point, as an adult, everybody has the opportunity to decide who are you going to be, regardless of how you're raised. Who are you going to be? And the only reason I think it's just going to take longer is because America is a very, very, compared to other world countries, is a very, very young country.
They still deal with this every day in England.
They do. They do.
They still deal with it. The
but
caste
my-
system is still alive and well in India.
It is.
I mean,
it is. But I've been to countries.
it is a world problem.
It is, but I've been to countries where I was surprised that I didn't see it. Not saying it doesn't exist, like my trips to, to Canada. I was surprised at the, obviously Canada has racism, but I was surprised at the lack that I experienced going to Toronto.
I'm going to explain to you why.
Why is that?
Because you are a 6 foot+ black man who was rather large. And it's not a fear. It is, he might be a basketball player. He might be a football player. I swear to you, when I first moved to Port St. Lucie in Florida and I went down to Miami, the Ravens had won the Super Bowl, right? I'm a Ravens fan. So I had my hat on, I had my little towel in my back pocket,
Yep.
and we went out to Gloria Stefan's restaurant. And they're like, "Oh, how you doing? Welcome, congratulations." I'm like, "All right, thanks." They're like, "Oh, you didn't get the ring yet?" And I'm like, because I'm wearing my Super Bowl champions hat. Didn't even think about it. I'm like, no. And he's like, "All right, everything's on the house tonight. Whatever you want."
What?
Yeah.
Because they just assumed you were a player.
And so I got treated with that respect. Same thing. I went to the Honda Classic with a couple of my Italian friends, and they're making a joke and they're calling me Panther Woods because it had just come out about Tiger Woods' problem and his dad's problem with the waitresses and everything,
Yeah.
and they were making jokes. They're like, "Yeah, so did you meet Tiger's dad? Did your mom meet Tiger's dad at the Waffle House in Fort Pierce? Because Fort Pierce is notorious."
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah. And literally 30 minutes later, people are now following me around, asking to take pictures with me, just because they think something.
But there's also a reverse factor.
Oh yeah,
There's also a reverse factor that because I am the height and size that I am, there's also a factor of
you're automatically intimidated.
yes. So can I take this person down too? So there is that. It can work for you. It can also work against you. So it just depends on, to your point, the willingness of the people who see you to accept you. Now, I had an experience. I don't think I ever told you about this. My former coworker Tony Costa and I, we were in Carlsbad, California. We were doing work for Qualcomm at the time. So we're in Carlsbad, California. We just happened to stumble upon an Audi dealership. So I walk in there. We walk in there. We're looking around. Guy walks up to me. Hey, how are you? Good. How are you? He's like, I haven't seen you in a while. And I'm thinking, never seen me before in your life. And he's like, what you looking at? I'm like, oh, I'm just looking at the A8 and so forth and so on. He goes, oh, why don't you take it out? Didn't ask me for my driver's license or nothing. This man pulls out an A8, has the service team get it prepped, bring it out to me out of the showroom. They open the garage doors. They bring it out of the showroom, bring it out front. He's like, take it out. Come back whenever you want. And I was like, and Tony and I are looking at each other, and he just walks to the passenger side of the car. So I just get in. So we take the car out for like 4 hours. Mind you, this man has no idea who I am. And so when we finally brought it back as they're closing, he goes, oh, I thought you were going to keep it over the weekend. And I was like, no, it's okay. But he just assumed, to your point, that I was somebody he knew, and he must have assumed that I was an athlete or an entertainer or something like that. So you get that. But I've also had that experience that you described before. Back when I was in Chicago, I was suited and booted, looking good, being cool, like I am. And I got to O'Hare at about midnight, and I'm walking through the parking lot with my roller bag. I'm in a suit. I've got my roller bag. I've got my backpack. And as I'm walking to my car, there's this lady who's walking parallel to me, and she keeps looking at me. And so I see her peripherally. I don't pay her any attention. And so then she starts walking faster. Okay. And so then she starts looking back at me because then she's pulling ahead of me. And so she keeps looking back at me, and I'm like, something behind us? We being chased?
They're lying.
Tell me something. And so she looks back at me a fourth time, and she trips and falls. Her purse spills out, and all the stuff just piles out of her purse. And so I walk up to her, and I start grabbing her things and helping her. I'm like, Miss, are you okay? And she goes, yeah. She goes, I'm sorry. I'm like, sorry for what? She goes, well, I just thought, and then she just stopped herself. And I said, thought what? And she goes, oh, nothing. I'm sorry. So I helped her get her things together. And so I said, well, I don't know what you thought. It's only the two of us in this empty parking lot. I said, ideally, I'm the person you want on your side if somebody was following you. I said, but that as it may, I hope you're okay. I helped her get her things. And then I started walking ahead of her, and then she's apologizing to me. She couldn't bring herself to say what she was apologizing for, but I knew.
See, and that's where we differ because I'm that person. I would have been like, oh shit, and I would have just kept walking.
Yeah.
Because at that point,
Yeah.
You've made an assumption.
You have. But
based on.
But I was able to diffuse that assumption because I helped her. And so my hope is that she took that experience and realized I can't look at every 6'4", suited, handsome, bald, black, beautiful, fabulous.
Did you just call yourself fabulous?
He did.
I did. Well endowed. Person that is a threat. You know what I mean? So my hope is that I was able to reverse that. Because had I just walked past her, to your point, which I certainly could have done and said, you've lost your motherfucking mind. But I didn't do that. But had I done that, the vision of what she thought I was probably would have stayed in her head. So my hope is that by doing that one simple thing, by helping her, I'm hoping that maybe I change her perception the next time she's in that situation. And if I haven't, that's not my problem because I'll never see her again. I haven't seen her since. I can't help that. So, and then I've had situations where I've been on the reverse side. I've seen, white males who had a certain look to them, and I just automatically assume, oh, I know he's a racist, and they turn out to be the nicest guys in the world. So to your point, I just always try to take people for who they are. And if they show themselves well, then great. If they don't, then I avoid them. And then one of the interesting experiences that I had growing up in the Lincoln Park area of Chicago was that the area that I grew up in was predominantly white, predominantly Jewish. And so, because it was considered upper middle class, I never had any issues until I got to high school. Because at the time, I went to the largest all-male Catholic high school in the country, 3,000 boys, only 120 were black. And out of the 120, about 80 were there because of their athletic scholarships. Yeah. I got there because of my academic ability. So, I was always of a mindset that here I am trying to prove that I belong in these honors classes. I'm getting A's in these honors classes. And then because I played sports too, because I wanted to, one of the things that our school did was, if you played a sport, you had to have a C average. Yep. However, they would post your grades on the behind glass in the library for everybody to see. Yep. So there are people who'd be embarrassed by that. I wasn't. People would say, "Oh, they're putting the grades up. Aren't you nervous?" Nope. I'm good. So I got nothing to worry about. So, and I hate that I had to feel like I had to prove myself, but I realized I did because I knew part of what I was doing was paving the way for people who came behind me. So there are a lot of different elements, a lot of different variances to how you handle yourself in certain situations. Now, I still get I still had some of the experiences that you had. A lot of times black people thought I wasn't black enough. I get that all because of how I spoke. Yeah. And because my parents were educated. My mom was a child abuse investigator for the state of Illinois. My dad was an educator. They were both college graduates. And so I couldn't come in the house acting a certain way. Yeah. I couldn't come in the house speaking a certain way. I'm going to make you laugh now. So a lot of times to blacks, I wasn't black enough. To some whites, I wasn't white, obviously. So there were times where, I felt isolated too. But it worked itself out organically. Like, I remember growing up, and like I said, I was very sheltered, myself and my sister. And all of our cousins, my dad was the bookworm of the group. There was like 13 of them. Everybody's ridiculously smart. But he was the one that was just like, the one. He'd study all fucking day and all night. It'd be a Saturday. Everybody else would be going to a party. He'd get home, listening to Bob Marley on vinyl and study. Mm-hmm. That was his thing. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy because all my cousins, they would call us the Flanders because we always went to church on Sunday. We didn't curse. We didn't watch bad movies. We weren't allowed to watch bad TV shows, things like that. And I remember one day, one of my uncles said to me, he's like, "I hope you don't grow up to be gay." What? And coming from the Caribbean, that's a very strong statement because of the stigma that's attached with being gay is not, I think people will misunderstand it and they don't understand what the stigma is about. So when they went to these other countries, these slave, and they did it in the States too, these slave owners, they raped the men. Bucking the bull, they called it. Yeah. And to them, it was a control thing. It had nothing to do with sexuality or sexual nature. And they would do it in front of their families. And they would do it in front of everyone. Yep. To show that here's the biggest one, and I've broken him down. So if I can do that to him, imagine what I can do to you. Yep. And so it's always created that type of stigma. And that stuck with me. And I was like, but why would you say that? And my dad wasn't of that mindset or culture, but the rest of them were, and with the exception of my favorite uncle who passed, Tony, he was the one that was like, don't listen to that bullshit. But that was ingrained in me
as a young man, like growing up as a teenager. I had a best friend who we had known each other since we were 11 years old. We went to the same schools. We lived in the same neighborhood. I mean, I used to hang out at this guy's house. He used to spend the night at my house. We used to hang out all the time. Everybody knew he was gay but me. Had no clue. No clue. Like, everybody's like, oh, that's your best friend? I'm like, yeah, he's cool as hell. What's up? You know, my parents knew it, and I didn't know it. And I found out, and I was about 25 when I found out.
But he was your friend,
But he was my friend, and I never knew it.
and that's what counted.
And that changed my perspective because I'm like, he was genuinely my friend. There was nothing else about it. You know, it wasn't like he was like, oh, I had a secret crush on you. None of that shit. He was just my best friend who happened to be gay. And that changed my perspective. And I was of that because I was ignorant in that mindset. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody that's gay. I don't want, like, if you're a girl, it's okay, but if you're a guy, no. You know, that foolish mentality, that chauvinistic mentality. And when I found that out, we sat and talked for a good 3 hours the day he finally told me. And it clicked, and I was like, he's still a man.
Yeah,
He's still a human being.
That's it.
Like, that doesn't, his sexual orientation doesn't change who he is as a person.
It doesn't
It's just
define him.
it's a personal preference on who he's attracted to or who he likes.
Yeah, he
But
defined.
it doesn't change who he is as a person, his character, or anything.
No.
And so I've lived my adult life trying to make up for that and trying to get people to open their eyes to understand that just because they don't like the same thing as you doesn't mean they're less of a person, less of a man, less of a woman. Like, it's a respect thing.
Yeah, people can choose how they want to be loved, who they want to love, how they identify
If
themselves.
you want to marry
sexually.
a tree,
But if yeah,
I don't care.
Fuck that tree, literally. Yeah. So,
like, as long as you're not hurting anybody's kids, I don't give a shit.
hope you get acorns.
Jesus. But yeah, it's one of those things where you realize, you know, and sometimes it does take that age. It takes you till you get into your, you know, and I see even a lot of my friends who I met in the military, you know, they're from Alabama and Mississippi and Southern Georgia and Tennessee, and they just have this stigma about people. If you're not white, then something's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my drill sergeants said, "Everybody's green here."
Yeah,
He's
military.
He's like, there's no white, there's no black, there's no yellow, there's no green, you know, no purple. Everybody is actually green. He's like, you all put on the same uniform, you put your pants on the same way, you lace up your boots the same way, you march the same way, you shoot the same way. You're all the same. There is no racial divide. And that also, that was what started me understanding, like, people aren't just inherently racist. They're not just born racist.
No,
Like, you have to teach them those ways. But the same way that you teach them those ways, you can reverse that.
you can't.
It takes a lot of work. It's a headache sometimes, don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But-
It has to be experiential too.
But in that part, it opens you up to a whole new culture. Like, I grew up in Maryland, PG County. It's the biggest black, wealthiest county in the nation.
Right.
And, you know, I had white friends, you know, but again, like Art, we were upper middle class. So where we lived, you know, and it was funny because where we lived, you had the people that tried to act like they were, you know, gangsters and hard, but like, you live in a $300,000 or $400,000 house in the '90s. Your parents are, you know, doctors and lawyers, and you're talking about you're a gangbang. Like, no, that's not who you are. But learning that you can be who you are as an adult. You can choose whether to stay with those beliefs and with those ideals, or you can mature and understand that just because that's something that your parents believe or your family believes doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be your story too. And
True.
and taking that time to get to know people. I think that's what we're lacking, especially in this day and age. I think we are so similar, and this pandemic has proved it.
Ah, absolutely.
The pandemic has shown that there is no, you know, color divide when it comes to losing your job or being poor.
This virus.
It broke everybody down, and
Yep.
and if you actually took the time to really think about it and learn from it, you learn that we all bleed the same. and you have to at some point. I'm hoping, and that's why I say, for me, I really don't believe that it'll ever happen. I wish that it would, but the reality is, even through this pandemic, you've seen some situations get worse,
You have.
and it's like, well, damn, if this couldn't show you, then does God have to literally come down and sit next to you and say, hey, that's wrong, before you actually realize that you're doing wrong, or that you're ignorant to things?
Or it takes a life-changing experience.
Yeah, that one's usually it.
That's usually what it is. It takes
You
a
gotta-
life-changing experience. Your life has to be saved by someone who's gay, or someone who's from a different ethnicity, or someone who's different, and they saved your life, or the life of somebody you love, or they did something so above and beyond that you can never forget them. And it shouldn't take that. It really shouldn't. It really shouldn't take that. So
It shouldn't take that, but there's a lot. I mean, you can see this in other ways too. You talked about churches earlier.
yeah.
There were you pick a major mega church. There's usually some scandal.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
All
You
the time.
have a lot of people who were defending these people, whether they could not see. A friend of mine in New York had this problem, and they could not see what was going on, or either couldn't process it, weren't believing it, but there was some block to go, no, this person's really not like
Yeah, they had the horse blinders on, like.
right, and that's in
horse
some
collar?
cases that's self
blinders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not the other thing.
You always mess it up.
But because if they were to acquiesce to this new perception or reality,
Truth. Yeah.
the amount of damage that it would do to themselves and their worldview and all this would be enormous. And to
Yeah.
some degree, that can be involuntary.
Oh yeah.
And you make a
Because
good point.
You're not going to put yourself through trauma on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
And you make a good point, because it forces people to take a look at themselves.
You have to do a self inventory and realize
Yeah, sometimes
shit. Yeah, and you have to say it to yourself. That's the hardest part.
you got to be able to
Admitting
look
that to yourself that you fucked up, you made a mistake, and you were wrong, is the hardest thing any individual has to do.
Yep.
Well, and there was, I think it was one of the big psychologists, Jung or Freud or one of them, they said the things you need most are the places you want to look least.
Yeah, that was Hugh Hefner.
That was you, it was not. But it's like,
Oh shit.
for me, I mean, just as a non, as a kind of off topic example. Like
You having one of my moments over there. You taking all kind of losses today.
I was trying to get in
With your
shape,
Steven Shorts on.
and I would go to mixed martial arts. I would do swimming. I would do a lot of this stuff, and I was like, well, why am I not getting in shape? And finally, I had to go get proper
Diagnosis.
personal training,
Mhm.
also yes, to build my core out, because when I broke my head when I was 13, my back got so screwed up, none of my muscles worked right.
Oh,
Right? That's actually a good story for the other thing, because when I went to the hospital in Tokyo, I was a white kid, bottom of the list,
Mhm.
and my jaw was literally in two pieces at the bottom, and the only thing holding it together was my braces. I'll show you the CAT scans. They're upstairs.
wow.
And they looked at it and said, it's not broken, you come back tomorrow. My mother had to twist the arm of the doctor in the Tokyo University Hospital. Okay, no, you're going to take x-rays of his head, you're going to do CAT scans, you're going to do all this shit. They still wouldn't really treat me. And I had to get on an airplane, come back to the States, get my head put back together. Because the Japanese hospital would, like, no, we don't care about you.
Crazy.
That's why I said it's not just it's not a black and white issue. It's a world issue.
It's a human issue. Of
Anywhere
course.
you go. I mean, even I lived in Germany for 5 years almost, and realized that Turkish people hate black people. I don't know why. I mean,
Japanese do too.
I just don't get it. But I mean, these guys, they run the kebab stands, and they were most of the Turkish were most of the bouncers at the clubs and stuff. And you couldn't get out the door without damn near getting in a fist fight. I mean, we literally had to go in like a group of 20 so that we could have a good time and all walk out together to make sure that, one person didn't straddle behind and then nobody was around and they got beat the fuck up and they're now in a German hospital and we got to go get them on Monday morning.
But that was taught, to your point earlier.
Yeah.
That came from somewhere.
It's just
It was
They're
adopted.
the same way with the Kurdish too. they just shell more than Iraq now.
Yeah.
Just because that's where a lot of the Kurds are.
I mean, just look. I mean, look at the Palestinians and the Jews. I mean,
Yeah.
this is it's.
That's been going on
That's
forever.
a bit of an older.
Yeah, you know, and you think about it, and you look at it, and you're like, they literally look the same. The same.
Well, that's what it is. The low, in some cases, the lower the stakes or the closer you are together
Yeah.
in similarities.
That's
that
why.
little bit becomes everything.
Everything. Yeah.
And you,
It's like Ethiopia and Eritrea.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was one nation.
Under a group getting down just full.
Same thing with Czechoslovakia. They have the Czech
Yeah.
Republic, now they have the Slovakian Republic.
Yeah.
And then
It's
or,
all one country.
Or Pakistan and India, they
Yeah.
just didn't draw the border all the way to Kashmir, and now they just are ready to nuke each other half the time.
Aaron, look at her eyebrows. Aren't those perfect?
She was very cold to me earlier. I don't know what's going on. with her.
What you do to her?
I don't know. I think I did
so
something.
cold.
I was drunk the other night. That might be it.
Oh.
Oh, what time is the ladies' club meeting?
Actually, it was canceled today.
Oh man.
It was canceled today. Just because we didn't want you to crash on it, so.
No, we were gonna crash because we were gonna do a special episode extended where we were gonna do the Love Connection. I was gonna be the Black Chuck Woolery.
Oh Lord. I'm glad
What?
it's canceled.
Oh my goodness. Are you really?
You need another drink?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good, thank you. Well, we still have not talked about cigars, liquor, or guns today. We've had this first hour, and it's just been
So, grind coffee flavored liqueur, which is new on
Bailey's.
the scene, and Bailey's is a good one. So if you haven't tried it, I'd say, well, everybody's had Bailey's, I'm sure. But definitely pick up the grind, mix it with a little Bailey's, drop an ice cube in it. This is a good one.
This is like a good. This is like a twist on the Irish coffee,
It is.
and it's good. And this is refreshing.
It is.
So I like that, and I like the fact that it's cold. You don't have to have it hot.
No, and it's not too sweet. You know how I am
Yeah.
about things that are too sweet. So, watch yourself.
I said nothing, sir.
Watch yourself. It's the look. We've been friends long enough. It's the look.
Oh, I did send you guys
Yes, you sent us a weapon.
that link to Frog Bones,
Uh-huh.
which is probably one of my favorite gun establishments on the coast. Not here in Central Florida, but on the coast in the Cocoa, Melbourne area. They have the 6 Hour Cross BDX package.
When's it getting delivered? I know you.
I cannot confirm nor deny that on the radio as it's live and
You already have it.
people may be listening.
You already have it.
If I had it, I would have just brought it in on my shoulder.
No, you wouldn't have.
Shit.
No, you wouldn't have. Sometimes you're secret squirrel with your shit.
Nah, not with this.
Like the Chris Vector, which
Oh.
which I've only seen in the shop.
That is true.
We're supposed to remember. We still got to make an appointment to go to that gun range and get our fire on.
But I mean, this thing is.
Oh, I've taken a new step now. Now that
Uh-oh, let's hear it.
I have my holster, I've been carrying my holster just to get used to it. So I haven't put the
Well, walk around in the house with it,
Yeah, that's
so
what
that
I've
you
been doing.
feel it, so you can feel the weight difference.
yes. Yeah.
So the best thing about this thing is it comes in 2 featured calibers: the 308,
Uh-huh.
the 16-inch barrel,
Come on, man.
and then it also comes in a 6.5 Creedmoor,
Lord
18-inch
have
barrel.
mercy.
So that is the problem. That's the crux of the problem right now.
Ammo.
No,
No.
I'm just like I don't have a 6.5 Creedmoor, so technically this would be a new caliber, so it wouldn't count as the same type of gun because I would have to buy new rounds.
Technically.
But I mean, just look at this thing. I mean, it's beautiful. And 6 Hour, they put their optics on it. They put everything else on it, and it is probably one of the most aesthetically pleasing rifles that I've seen in a long time.
Hey, Iris, I see you.
Hey, Iris, how's it going?
She's watching.
So, and the price was, well, it starts out at $25, and Frog Bones is doing a special right now, and it's only $22.
What?
It comes with a case, It actually comes with ammo, which is crazy. It comes with 2 boxes of ammo.
Okay.
So I'm trying to not pull the trigger literally on this,
Trying.
but I haven't gotten a new firearm since my birthday last year. So
Listen to the Discard Snob talk himself into getting something just because.
well, no, and then the other thing is I also have 2 other weapons that I have not fired as yet.
Oh?
The Judge, I still
Oh.
have not fired.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I haven't fired the Judge yet.
And what else?
And the
The
Chris
Chris
Vector.
Vector. Okay.
So I'm like, is a third time a charm? Like,
Of course it is.
so that's where I am at.
Well, then you already know what to do. I'm not going to even.
So I think that if you get the 308, then I should get the 6.5 Creedmoor.
Fair.
So it's up to you.
All right, I'll get the 308. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't get the 308.
Where are you gonna put it? Where are you gonna put it, Art?
That's a good point. I'll figure that out afterwards. Sometimes you gotta get it first. Then you make the space. Just like my second humidor that I've set up.
Very nice.
Got humidor side by side. I'm feeling adult on this now. So
Oh, shit, almost ashed in my damn drink.
you
That's how you
are
know this
really
shit's
taking you are really taking a lot of L's today with your ash game.
Look,
Normally that is not you,
no,
but you've been going through some things. So, but that's another story.
for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're just gonna close out today, and I just want to say, I just love everybody, man.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
It's
seriously.
the simplest thing, and it takes so much energy to hate. So,
And even if you can't love somebody,
Mhm.
just have the common decency to have respect.
Yeah,
I mean, I think respect goes a long way. You don't have to like me. You don't have to love me.
Mhm.
But I'd prefer if you chose to respect me on your own versus me making you respect me.
treat me like a human being.
Treat me like you want to be treated.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's one of the biggest things that, my mother ingrained in me as a child is treat people how you want them to treat you, regardless of,
Tony Shorter, what's up,
Anything.
brother?
regardless of what they say to you, what they do to you. She was like, short of them putting their hands on you.
That's it.
She was like, words are words.
That's it.
She was like, but short of them putting their hands on you, just walk away.
Yeah, yeah, and and we're at a different place in our life. We have people who
Depend on us.
We gotta be there.
Yeah.
And you've talked me out of some situations where I was ready to do some things that I probably shouldn't do, but you forced me to look at the bigger picture.
Vice versa. You definitely saved a couple of lives yourself.
And in,
Definitely have.
and in doing so, I'm there for those who truly love me and care about me, as are you. So, and that's what it's all about, because you never know. Just like the 3,000 people 20 years ago who woke up that morning not knowing it was going to be their last day on Earth, we don't know when our last day on Earth is going to be. So,
And the tens of thousands who were affected,
Yeah.
by the smoke and the plume and everything, and then subsequently died later. I mean,
it's still those that survived that are still dealing with
and we're not even talking about the mental trauma here.
it. No.
We're talking about the physical trauma that you can see on people and then they feel every day in their bones. We're not talking about, the issues of mental health that they go through of, well, why did I stay alive and why did this other person die, or why did I lose this friend or that friend? We're not talking about that, because that's a whole nother animal that is so much help is needed in that arena that, and that goes back to the military too.
Yep.
I mean, my biggest thing is I'm old enough to die for my country at 18, but I can't have an alcoholic drink.
Makes no sense.
Old enough to carry a weapon into war and kill someone, but I still can't enjoy an alcoholic beverage.
Makes no sense.
That's an issue to me.
It's
And
an
I
issue to
think
me, too.
we just need to. And I know I'm the antichrist here because I always say, "Oh no, it's never going to happen," but prove me wrong, please. Like, this is the one thing that I will gladly and openly say, you know what? I was a complete fucking moron and I was wrong, and we can love each other and take care of each other and respect each other. This is a Cigar Snob alongside Sir Shirts and Shoes.
Much love to Chair 4 Steve. Miss you, brother. Handle the business.
Get
And
better.
Yep.
And
For those that you know and love, let them know as soon as you can. If not today, even if it's tomorrow, if you can't reach them, let them know you love them. Give them their flowers now.
Oh yeah, and we will be back next week. And don't forget that the weekend of October 15th, we will be broadcasting from
Shelbyville, Tennessee,
Heaven on Earth,
Uncle Nearest.
the Uncle Nearest Distillery. So just remember to smoke what you love, drink what makes you feel good, and always aim center mass.
Always.
Have a great day, everybody.
Peace and chicken grease.
Yeah, I should.